Hey guys, welcome back. It's been a week since my last devlog and I've made some progress on the game. I'm going to play it through from the beginning and just explain a few bits that I've changed, a few things that I've added, how I've progressed the first level, and then I'm going to take you through some of the code and some of the artwork that I've made. So the opening title sequence hasn't changed that much. Again, some of these sprites probably will be updated in terms of the quality. They're there at the moment as placeholders. Probably going to do a better ship here. That's quite basic. This will all be a voiceover. I'm going to be hiring, eventually, we're going to look to hire a voiceover actor to speak through the narrative. So something's happened. Chapter 1 is the first playable chapter, and then we get popped in the corridors of the low security area. You can check the PC, it needs a keycard. So the first little bit of the game is figuring out where that keycard is. You've got 4 computers, open cabinet, keycard found. And all the text that's significant in terms of progressing the story I've set to yellow, and then the other text is set to white. So password obtained, just like a key moment. Once we have the password, we can access one of these 4 computers. Access granted, and then we can go into the system. There's a few bugs in this bit, which I won't go through now, but I will fix them. So if you push the button, then it can take you to different screens. But it's not a big fix. It's a problem that I can fix quite quickly. We can go in. Obviously, last episode I showed you the games, system control, security cameras, and we can disable the Zone 1 camera. Exit the system takes us back to the level where we left off, and now we can go back up. And we can see that the security camera is disabled. There's another camera down here. This one we need to sneak past. The way the level's designed, we can just sneak around. There's nothing down here. We may put something in there, I'm not sure. Now the camera's gone up, we can then go down. If we go left here, there's nothing down this corridor yet either. Again, I'm not sure entirely. There may be some things, little kind of side quest things that we can do. Then we get to this section. This is new. So this is a vertical door. So we can't get through here, but if you notice on the wall there's a flashing terminal. So if we go to the terminal, it says system offline, and it takes us to a mini game. And then with this one, I've just used the drag and drop functionality in Construct to give the player a little puzzle to fix. So they've got to basically use these bits of wiring over here, and they snap back. So if we drop them somewhere that isn't on the grid, they'll automatically snap back. You can also right click on them, and that will just pop them straight back to their original place. So if you draw them, drag them out of here, if you're not putting them down, they snap back into place. The player has to then figure out the code. There's 4 ways you can link this up, and then all 4 ways will progress. This is one of the 4 ways. Everything turns green and you get set back and the doors open. And then you can come through this little section here, which I've just kind of put down some sprite objects. And then there's another section here where you've got to sneak past the camera. And then you can go up here. And that's as far as I've got. And then this is just level to be completed. So if I close that down, you can see the level here. So I've got these carpet tiles which I've put down just for consistency, the same ones here. Because this is a computer area, I wanted to keep some kind of consistency with the cabinets and the boxes and the carpet area. And then these kind of tiled floor areas I think will be more corridors. Because there'll be kind of less dwelling areas for the characters that would be effectively populating this world. I've got the next challenge we've got after this security camera here. If we go up here, we've got a big open space. There's a corridor. I don't know what I'm going to do in terms of a door there. There may be another vertical door and another puzzle on the wall, so we may put another interface, or maybe here we'll put an interface that will open this door. Then you've got this one. These are automatic doors. And then there's another security camera here, which will have its own kind of scanning zone. And then the goal will be to get to this area, I think, where there'll be maybe a staircase that's kind of built into the floor, maybe. I don't know. I need to speak to my writer Pete to find out exactly what that potentially could look like. Right, let's take you through the levels that I've made. So if we go up into the project section, we've obviously got the cell, which I showed you last time in the opening sequence in layout 1. This is the wiring screen, so I've created a whole new layout for the wiring mini game, and I just direct the event sheet to take you here when you interact with that control panel. And all I've done here is I've created a few sprites which I've called node. These have instance variables, node 1 and node 0. These buttons, I put 3 in because I was debugging the code, so I wanted if the first piece, effectively there's 3 pieces that link up to make this work, and I put these in so I'd have each one trigger when the piece was in the right place. Because pieces could go in multiple positions, I was using it to debug it to make sure that they would turn off and turn on if we were to move them around, which worked. And now I just have the 3 there because I think it looks nice, and they all 3 pop on when we get the sequence correct. And there's 4 ways to beat this mini game. I'm not going to show you now, just in case you ever want to play it. I don't want to give you all the answers. These nodes have 2 sprites, 2 frames. They've got green and yellow, so this is obviously when they're active. I'll probably make that sprite a little better in terms of the colors. The animation speed is set to 0, and all I do is I set in the code that if the sequence is correct, then set this frame to frame number 1. I've got a button down here which is leave terminal. Obviously when the player goes to this area, so if I push play on here now, if they go to this area and then try to beat it, but they can't figure it out, and they feel there may be another clue somewhere else in the level, which there may be. Maybe we'll put another clue, so they can click on the leave terminal button and it doesn't open the door. So maybe, potentially, let me know what you think in the comments, we could put some kind of hidden clue in the level, maybe on one of the other PC terminals, maybe, that if you find it, it gives you the answer to the wiring problem, and then you don't have to really think about it. But effectively you're going to need to solve that puzzle to get through this door. I think for the most part people will be fine with it. It's not too challenging, it's quite simple. Like I said, there's 4 ways in which you can beat it, so it's, yeah, I think it'll be fine. But again, let me know what you think, if it's too hard or too easy, or whatever the case may be. There's going to be a few of these. This will be a theme that runs through the game, especially on this first level, and they will get more challenging each time. So the first one is supposed to be quite easy. In terms of backgrounds, I've just got tile backgrounds, so I've just drawn a dark green square with a light green cross on it to act as kind of like a computer interface, and then I've just put another frame which is basically just a sprite with a white border around it that's 2 pixels thick, and I've done that on both of those. And then again, just as similar here, just a tile background with a darker kind of overlay on it that we can just rest those on. In terms of how that looks in the scripting, if I open up the event sheet here, it looks a little more complicated than it is. It's quite a big event sheet. I've got some global variables, which is for the grid snapping. So I've set the global variable grid size X and grid size Y to 16 because they're 16 pixels apart. And then what I've done in terms of snapping is here. Where is it? Here it is, this bit of code here. So I've put all the pieces of wire, because there's 6 pieces of wire in general and I want them all to have the same behaviors. So I put them in a family and called it wires, and then assigned the behavior to the wires family. So if we pick up any wire in that family, if we're dragging it, then I want to set the wire that we're holding rounded to wires.x divided by grid size x times grid size x, which is a little bit confusing, but effectively what it means is it's just going to snap to the right parts of this grid. So it's not going to be that we can drop it kind of here. It's going to snap it in place to here exactly, so it won't ever set to just an offset. It will just snap it right on top there, and that works it out based on the grid size. And because everything's in a 16:16 ratio, it's always going to align no matter what piece of wire you take, and the tops and the sides of all of these are exactly the same width and height, so they all line up exactly. Let's continue down through here. So the unlocking sequence, I've set 3 booleans, which is part 1, part 2 and part 3 to false, and that correlates to, say for example, part 1, part 2 and part 3, and depending on which sequence you use, those same 3 parts are still relevant. So there's first combination, second combination, third combination. So if we're setting the combination in part 1 and the wire 1 is at these coordinates, then it sets all those parts to true. Same with the second combination, same with the third, same with the fourth. And then I've set a condition down here which says if part 1, 2 and 3 are all true, then we set the frame node to 1, which is green. We set the lights green. We set another global variable called wire puzzle 1 to true, and I've set it as a wire puzzle 1 because there's going to be multiple wire puzzles. If that's set to true, then that triggers the door over here. So if you've seen on the here, if we click the button and we haven't solved it, it doesn't set, as we go down here, it doesn't set that global to true. So when we come back to this level, that door stays shut. But if we do solve it, it effectively does the same thing, sends us back to layer 1, but it does open the door. And then in terms of location, one issue that I had, because I've got one event sheet for the whole of layout 1, and we're moving away from it depending if we're in a computer terminal or if we're in a control panel. One issue I had was every time we'd come out of that level and back to this level, it would put me back at the start here, and I wanted that to change so that if we were in the computer terminal, it would pop me back here in front of it. And the same thing if we're in the wire control panel on the wall, I wanted to pop me back here. And I've just solved that issue by just using a global variable which is called location, and I put it as a string, and then I just type in terminal 1, I type in computer 1 depending on where I am, and then when I initialize this first layout, I'm setting myself to a different place in the map based on what location I'm at. And that works quite well. So far it works quite well. I may bump into problems later, but again, I'll figure those out as we go. But at the moment it works great, and I'm happy with it. So that's about all I've got done in the last week. It's slow going, but hopefully we should have this first level finished, hopefully in a few more devlogs time. You can see there's quite a lot of space left on this level. Again, I need to have more conversations with Pete, the writer, as in terms of what can potentially be done in these areas. Obviously this is going to be quite a big first level, so I want there to be a fair few things that the player can do and interact with. And like I said at the beginning in Devlog 1, this is a meaningful choice journey, so there is more than one way, sorry, to progress this level. Like, you can effectively get caught by the first security camera, the room fills with gas, you pass out, and it still progresses the level. It doesn't take you back to the beginning to retry. It's like, okay, so you had your chance to get through, you didn't do it, let's progress the story. And then the way I'm gonna code this in is it's gonna remember your choices and actions and take you down different paths. So it's gonna be more of it's going to flow better, I suppose, and then, you know, you're not going to feel like, well, what I'm trying to say is I don't want you to feel like you're in a game where if you die you restart the level. I want it to feel like that you're in a story and you're playing through, you know, a very, very meaningful and engaging narrative. That's the outcome anyway. But anyway, let me know what you thought in the comments. Like and subscribe, it really helps the channel. It really helps to support my journey through this devlog, and I will have more for you in the next one, which will be out next Friday.